Okay guys, so I have something that I would like to talk to you all about today, and it's all stemming around this book. A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. Now, I really did like A Court of Mist and Fury, and that was because of a lot of real world aspects that were in it that I don't see a lot of in YA. That being Feyre suffering with PTSD, Rhys suffering with PTSD, nightmares, her finding her own agency, coming to her own, that kind of thing, which you don't see a lot of, or at least I don't. Now, the problem that I am seeing with not this book specifically, but issues surrounding this book, firstly being just the internet hype before this book even came out. There were a lot of people that were posting passages up on Twitter, on Tumblr, saying that, you know, there was homophobia, that there was gay bashing, that there was a character who was ashamed of who she was to the point that she was trying to date the gay away. And as I read this book, these are not the things that I encountered completely. Now, before I go any further, I will say there are going to be spoilers. It is impossible to have this discussion and not have spoilers. So, that being said, I'm going to put this book down, because that's a lot. So, that being said, okay, so one of the first issues that I encountered was there was a spoiler released a couple of days or so before the book came out, at least that's when I became aware of it, of people posting this passage from chapter 3 and then saying that Sarah J. Maas was basically gay bashing, and there was, I don't know if she's a book blogger or a booktuber or what, but she posted a passage from chapter 3, and the passage was talking about Dagnant and Brona. I'm saying that it was a quote that said, in whatever unholy capacity. So the entire quote says, Dagnant and Brona had listened to her fawning with enough boredom that I was starting to wonder if the two of them perhaps preferred no one's company but each other's in whatever unholy capacity. So they took that passage, posted it all over Twitter, and was saying things like, you know, she's gay bashing and she's implying that, you know, homosexuality is unholy and all these other things. And I'm like, did you not read the book? These characters are twins, and she's referring to incest. They're not even same gender. They are male and female. Incest is unholy, yeah, just a little bit. That is what she was referring to. So when I simply commented on this post saying these characters are brother and sister, she blocked me. So there is this just stirring up of crap, and everyone gets so riled up and started attacking the book and all this other stuff. And I'm like, did none of you bother to read it? None. Because this discussion is still going on, and today is May 5th, and the book came out on the 2nd. It's kind of ridiculous. And then there was the issue as far as sexuality, as well as Morgan and her big reveal later on in the book. And once again, I will say, if you have not read that far, if you've not finished the book, come back to this later, because you will be uber spoiled, okay? Uber spoiled. So later on, the thing with Morgan was Feyre confronted her as to why she was basically dragging Azriel along, and why she was just basically leading him on and then kept rejecting him, and then leading him on and kept rejecting him. Why, you know, why do this to him if you want him, be with him, if you don't. Then of course the big reveal was Moore came out as being bisexual but preferring women more than men. Then this was also another issue that was on Twitter. I haven't seen it on BookTube yet, whatever. So this turned into a giant thing on Twitter that was saying, you know, that Sarah J. Maas is making it seem like Moore is ashamed of her sexuality, and that she was basically, the worst way I've seen it worded was trying to screw the gay away, or trying to date the gay away, just hoping that if she dated enough men, the issue will go away. And that's not what I got out of the book at all. As Moore is explaining this to Feyre, she's basically saying, I didn't want my family to find out about it and take away the one thing that I feel like is solely me, the one thing that, you know, I can't survive without this aspect of my personality. I don't want them to drag me in the mud for it. And that's understandable, that even though I am not a lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgendered person, I do understand, especially working in psych, because I see the effects of it, of, you know, the negative aspects of what happens when people come out to their family. So that I didn't see as wholly unrealistic. But, you know, I don't know where people got this that they were saying she was ashamed of it or that she was trying to change it. And that's not what she said. She was saying that it was a beautiful thing, that she loved that part of her, and she didn't want her family to tarnish that or to turn it into something for people to make her a target. And that is a very real thing that's still happening today. So why people feel like that's unrealistic, I don't know. The part of it that I do feel like was a little bit realistic was the way it kind of came out of nowhere. But at the same time, you have to take into account that this story is told from Feyre's point of view. If Mor is centuries and centuries old and Feyre is, what, 16, 17, 18 in this book? Pretty sure if Mor didn't want anybody to know, she'd be fairly good at hiding it by now. She's over a half a century year old. So while we may think it came out of nowhere, you kind of get away with it by the fact that it hasn't been told from Mor's point of view, and it is not a third person point of view. The majority of this story, with exception to tiny little parts, are from Feyre's point of view. So if Feyre is not spending that much time around Mor, which between all three books she is not, or she does not have this many in-depth conversations with Mor, which clearly she has not, then no, she's not going to see it. And if we're in Feyre's head this whole book, she doesn't see it, we don't see it, because the things that give people away as far as that are watching them with other people, lingering touches, talking to them about their attractions, seeing how they interact with people of different sexes or genders, whichever. So if Mor is only ever around their group and Feyre is only ever around Mor in their group and not around women she's attracted to that much, then no, she's not going to see it. And since she didn't see it, we didn't see it. So I just think that the way that the reveal was made it seem a little bit unrealistic. Then that brings me to my other point. Are we forcing diversity? Now, what makes me say that is so many people are screaming for diversity in books. I, of course, don't have a problem with that. The issue that I have is if there's a book, and it is a good book, that it just doesn't happen to have diverse characters in it, or there's one out of like 50 some odd characters or whatever, there's one person that stands out, as long as it is not a racist aspect of the book, this is a thing that is going to take some time. I feel like it is not going to immediately be, because the fact of the matter is, unfortunately, that everybody does not think that way. If you are not a person of color, sometimes you just don't see it enough to consciously or unconsciously or whatever write it in the book. I'm not saying that that is a bad thing. I'm just saying that as a person of color, people write what they know. So take out of that what you will. I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm saying it is what it is, and I typically do not have much of a problem with it. Just because a book is largely all white characters or all Asian characters or all straight characters does not lend to a book being homophobic or racist or any of that. Now, once there is a racist aspect to it, that changes it. But, unfortunately, I'm not saying that that is a good thing. There is a problem because we are used to all that. But it's going to take a while to change. What I don't feel like is helpful is for people to go on Twitter and Facebook and BookTube and these authors' pages and bash them for, well, you didn't write a black character in, you didn't write a lesbian character in. So some of these authors are seeing that, and I feel like are basically forcing diversity and writing it in a way that's not believable, which isn't helping either. That's like that one person saying, oh, I'm not racist, I have 3 black friends. Why are you counting? Just like in an effort to not be on that aspect that's getting attacked, you're not helping the situation, you're making it a little bit worse. Because you're making yourself look like you're trying too hard. And as we all know, people that tend to try too hard to not appear racist, sometimes it's because they are and they don't want anybody to know it. So again, that just lends me to ask that, are we forcing diversity a little too much at the moment? We want it all to happen right now, and it's going to take some time. Look at the state of our union. Look at the state of our nation. Look at the things that are happening now with the pipeline protests, with the Black Lives Matter movement. It's just nobody can say anything about it towards the other end of these protests without appearing racist. Now, some of these things, of course, I have my own personal views on, being a person of color and being a female and dealing with some people who do have white privilege, and even dealing with people who have white privilege. And I just dated a guy not too recently who told me, yeah, white privilege is a thing, I know about it, and I use it to my advantage. That is not helping he didn't last long. I said all that to say, I mean, what is the balance? Just think about that. What is the balance? Because from a person of color, it is awesome to see so many people fighting for diversity, but don't take this in any way to mean that I don't like it, or that I think that the entire movement is disgenuine or a bad thing or not helpful. I love it, but I feel like unfortunately the reaction it's having is not the one that we wish for. Instead of, it's like dealing with that guy I was dating. You can address the problem and you can say that, okay, this is a racist statement or action, or a homophobic statement or action. Okay. And they can go, okay, well, I won't say that anymore. Okay, I won't do this anymore. But that doesn't mean that the racist thoughts are not still there. Now, saying that, it's to me, it's because we are fighting for diversity so much and so strongly. Yes, it is a beautiful thing and it's an awesome thing. But I feel like rather than attacking authors who don't have it, more authors who do should be celebrated. And I'm not saying that they aren't. Again, they are. But attacking these authors like Sarah J. Maas for every little thing they say and just going, that's homophobic, that's homophobic, that maybe not. Maybe she's just feeling like so many people will jump down your throat if you have something popular with a large character base inside this world, and you are not blatantly making a lot of them person of color or lesbian, gay, transgendered, bisexual, asexual, any of these things, that you get attacked for it. And that's exactly what happened. So in doing that, I feel like what's going to happen and what is starting to happen is that in order to save themselves from getting attacked, in order to say, hey, see, it's in there, it's not coming across realistic, which means people are going to pick it apart anyway and attack it. That's just, those are my thoughts on that. And that those people on Twitter who have all these followers and are posting these things, and people are attacking this woman, attacking her page, attacking her work. Now, don't get me wrong, I am not a huge Sarah J. Maas fan. I am a Court of Mist and Fury fan. I did not like Throne of Glass. I don't care for the other series at all, but that doesn't mean that I feel like she's a bad writer or that she's homophobic or racist or any of these things. I just feel like people just take things now and go overboard. They are looking for things to complain about. It's like when that Illuminati thing was real big and people would do ridiculous shit like play music like backwards with the bass up and the treble out and all this other crap. And you see, if you play it backwards at twice the speed and add bells in it, it's this call of Satan or some random crazy ridiculous bullshit. Like you were just looking for it. If you look for stuff, you are going to find it. Why not just read the book, see what stands out, instead of people going, is there diversity? There needs to be diversity. I don't see diversity, you must be racist. It's kind of ridiculous. Those are my thoughts on that. That is not at all my review of the book. That's just me thinking people are being kind of ridiculous right now. Now, if something would have stood out to me in that book as being homophobic, that's different. But I didn't see that at all. And I feel like people who are attacking this woman for the way that this character or these characters are portrayed or things that she said, they were reaching. And then when you argue with these people in a respectful way and just saying, hey, they're brother and sister, I got blocked. So it's that also lends a whole nother thing of like booktubers and bloggers and YouTubers in general and just people with a popular fan base using the powers for evil. Like, it's one thing if there was genuinely a problem with a book, but having a problem with this book and an unfounded problem and then using your internet popularity to send people like hate this woman's way, that's ridiculous. It's unfounded and it's uncalled for. And that again leads to a problem I have with a lot of people that are super popular on the internet and doing dumb shit like this. Now, a lot of popular booktubers are younger than me, some of them way younger than me. Doesn't mean I don't like them. That's fine. But there are a select few who still do childish things, and I consider this to be one of those childish things. You can't be a person that fights the fact that a lot of people reviewed a book 5 stars when it came out, but then in turn, you're incorrectly judging this book, you're purposely misquoting this book, continuing to do so after multiple people have pointed out the entire history to you. You're taking one selection of passage out of a story that's 3 chapters in, and these characters have already been introduced before and you know the story, the fact that they have two masculine looking names, you take that, you clip it, and you send all these people to attack this woman and attack her writing based on something that's unfounded. It's stupid. I've watched videos where a lot of people complain about the fact that people talk about, you know, their mental health and their struggles and their personal life on BookTube, but once they get a lot of followers. But I'm one of those people that believe that if you are popular on the internet, this is just like TV to me. You now have a fan base and a platform. It is a good thing that you want to use that to reach people, to touch people. Once you become a figurehead to people for any reason, be it books, whatever, then I'm all for it. Use that to encourage good things in people. Continue to encourage diversity. Continue to encourage mental health and wellness, and just taking charge of your own life. Continue to encourage, you know, women to stand on their own 2 feet. People of color to not allow themselves to be trampled. For lesbian, gay, transgendered, bisexual, any type of minority, any person, period, no matter your color, if you're a minority or not, anyone that needs to be encouraged, that is struggling, do that. That is a good thing. I love that about BookTube. But unfortunately, you get people who do the other half of that, who just take a personal vendetta for whatever reason and send all these people that person's way because you have a bunch of mindless stands who are going to follow whatever the hell you say and not bother to fact check. That's annoying to me. It's friggin' ridiculous. It's friggin' ridiculous. You know, on that note, I also will have to continue to encourage people, just like with Carve the Mark. I heard a bunch of horrible things about Carve the Mark. I still purchased it because I want to read it and judge for myself. A lot of times, and I'm not saying this is always the case because thankfully I haven't seen a whole bunch of cases where it's unfounded, but everybody's translation, everybody's interpretation is going to be different. Judge for yourself. That is all I'm saying. Don't take one person's misquote or twisting the scenario. Don't take one person's words, and especially if it is just encouraging, you know, vitriol, and just be like, well, my favorite booktuber said, or my favorite celebrity said. Look into the situation for yourself. That is the biggest point that I want anybody to take away from this. If anybody watches this video, I mean, I've even seen Twitter followers say, if anybody defends her, I'm unfollowing. Well, then unfollow me, because the part about being an open-minded person who is thinking about things constantly, not just taking everybody's word for gospel, is that you are going to be able to think for yourself, whether good or bad, regardless of how you feel about this person's work. I am not a Sarah J. Maas fan, really. I am a fan of this particular book and the book that came before it, and that's it. I really don't care for any of her other work. But that being said, I didn't just blindly go, well, I don't really care for her work, and this person said that this book was homophobic and this, that, and the other, so I'm not going to read it. No. And I mean, a lot of people will say that it's just the internet, but if you have that big of a following, especially one that is largely YA, meaning that a lot of the fans, regardless of the fact that there are a lot of adults who read it, there are even still more young adults and kids who read it. You have a responsibility to not just contribute to the fuckery. That's all I'm saying. So, yeah. That's it for today, guys. Thanks for watching. Bye.